where those who perceive truth may strive to make others see.
A big, powerful America, and shoot them for what?
On that continent, we are trying to forge a new identity for which we need each other.
I want you guys to imagine you're waiting on a meeting. You look around the office, notice how nice the desk is, you notice how high the ceilings are in this particular room, and eventually your attention wanders to your phone, and you're reminded just how much this one meeting means to you through really a family picture, and just what you're able to accomplish with this one meeting. And eventually the secretary walks in and she says, "Hey, the president will see you right now." Lobbyists are critical in terms of addressing this concept of corruption. And we have a lot of reason to really criticize lobbying. And I want to be fair to this concept in general, but in terms of more money leading to more opportunities to influence policy or politicians in any way, there, that's obvious. I mean, it's pretty obvious form, or probably an obvious lead up to corruption. This is really something that was bred, though, with the idea of voicing and being a voice for minority figures, being a voice for more complex issues regarding, learning, regarding anything you have to learn, anything you really have to take time out your day and learn. This concept is, it's something that we obviously really can't appreciate it in the form of what it's become, but the idea is, these particular matters need attention, and this is a way for some matters to get that attention. In terms of what it's turned into, that is really, when you talk about money being able to influence politicians, this is money being able to somehow influence politicians in any way, shape, or form. Businesses and people with more money having more impact is something that is really going to lead us to to a lot of what we see today. Hence, a lot of businesses are self-regulated. There's so many of our federal agencies that are designated to regulate businesses that are, including the FDA. These guys, and while they could have had some prevalence in the past, they're a joke now, and that's how we have ingredients, in our food that are illegal in any other country or state. And the idea here is, in terms of really what's happening today, we're seeing instances where, corporations are able, or, laws or policies are literally verbatim emails sent to them by corporate execs, or in one particular case, they were they were able to lobby to gain access to sell data without permission of consumers. I believe this is a at some point it erodes, and we're seeing and we're seeing the effects of that erosion in terms of in terms of everyday life. And I think we need to go back and address where things went wrong and how to keep things from going wrong. We have a lot of problems in society, and I think that it's powerful to address this in the form of I am with this political party or that political party. In terms of it's powerful, but it's powerful to the corporations to do this, because in terms of the concept of lobbying, we don't see any large movement to really get lobbying, or to really to significantly impact lobbying. In terms of really this idea in general, like I said before, even if these were meant for groups to really have say, in terms of minorities to have say, or groups that are trying to educate educate our president based on it doesn't matter of this is going to be used, and we're going to see the effects take place where economic power and resources really lay. In terms of lobbying and the problem of lobbying, I think it's pretty simple. Put, if you had president or really meetings where, congressional meetings where everyone was forced to wear their any lobbying interest on their suit as patches, then that I think that is the type of transparency that'll really allow you to say, okay, you're saying this because of them, or you're doing this because of them. And I think really, when it comes down to the rubber meeting the road with any renovation, I think we really have to think about the idea of translating this to the public. And there's an interesting story where somebody literally said, oh, these interests or this this company, it was Julian Assange, and they were saying, oh yeah, this this network was on my side. And I think and I disagreed with the person, and it was just or the leader of that group, because it was just if they're on your side, then they would be using they'd be using their visibility to say to actually put out what is going on in terms of educating the people about this matter in general. When they're on your side, when they're on your side in terms of this is power, in terms of media corporations being on the side of Julian Assange, this is in the form of, where is your power really going to, because of, because you've taken a stance of not actively supporting what's happening, does not mean that you're on your side, on the side of, that you're on our side of actively fighting against what is happening. You understand? Like, the power and influence, and where that really and where you see that is in the form of, you're reaching the people through the ways in which you would normally reach the people for this particular purpose. And I think that's very that's something that we really have to think about in terms of in terms of lobbying, inside versus outside. There's a difference, and the idea is, outside lobbying is really targeting, really targets this idea of raising public awareness, and press releases, public campaigns, social media advertising, and organizing protest events. And that's outside lobbying. In terms of inside lobbying, it's more delicate. It's more centered on the actual politician, or the representative themselves. In that case, you see more you see more direct interaction with policy, with these policymakers, and you see an actual bond being formed. This is in terms of distinction itself, inside lobbying versus outside lobbying, when it comes down to this distinction, when you have money versus when you don't have money. The concept is, if you can pay for, if you can pay for someone to learn this guy, or rub him the right way, then you're going to get more personal with the idea of ignoring or focusing in on certain voices, and in that case being less attentive to opposing voices. And this idea of really stringency from the standpoint of lobbying, it came down in 2007. They had this thing, and this thing called the Open Government Act or the Honest Leadership and Open Government Act of 2007, and they aim to increase transparency and accountability in these lobbyist activities, where in terms of really being able to see politicians wearing coats versus what was allowed. I think America has gotten really good at putting its public under a genjutsu of sorts, and that's just basically just manipulating the public into saying they're the most free, and all this thing, and they had to get really good at that in certain cases. And I think with the CIA, I think in the early days of the CIA, one of the main things that should stick out is the concept of a lot of these the CIA in its early days realized that it had to control what the people had access to, the information that people had access to. And this idea of really controlling controlling how something is put out and how it's put out, the idea of journalism became much became much more of a focus in terms of after the CIA was exposed. I forget the exact case, but the idea here is their exposition, like in through journalism, they face backlash. They face like severe backlash, and in terms of that particular idea of what the people see, it became a focus. And we in terms of the fall of journalism now, the idea that we're looking at cases like Julian Assange now, where the government doesn't even have to answer for its wrongdoings. It is simply like it's what it is at this point, and we live in it and we support it through whatever percentage of your paycheck goes to whatever to this entity that's supposedly governing. The element now, in terms of in terms of how it's used, when it's used, why it's used, I think we really, really have to get, we'll think of other way. I'm really convinced that we'll think of other ways to support, more intricate studies or minority groups in general. But this idea of addressing lobbying it's on the forefront in terms of this idea of making things transparent. I think that needs to be more of a focus, and I think that this idea of you being able to manipulate policy based on how much money you have is going to lead to problems, and we need to be careful on this road of with this experiment that we're doing right now. In terms of convincing anyone that what we have is worth saving, I think this element of lobbying is of a tremendous focus. But really, seeing a politician come out like a race car driver, these are the interests that are really, these are the interests that I'm serving, that I am beholden to in any way, shape, or form. When we think about why we come short, when we come short of that, I think that idea needs to be a standard for accepting money from politicians in general, when you accept money as a politician in general. And then we can talk about this and after that standard, that needs we can talk about what you're looking for in lobbying when it's out in the open in that particular regard, because things have gone off the rails, and we definitely see that things have gone off the rails. In any case, you're a bookman for this report, Sleepy. Really, thank you for listening. If anything, please reach out or comment with any concerns. Thank you. And I'll see you in the next video.